Amanda Huber, the wife of the late, great Brodie Lee John Huber, Luke Harper, whatever you want to call him. The wife of Brodie Lee was on the AEW podcast this week, and she had requested the time to speak on the podcast to kind of clear things up because she had been getting a lot of shit online, especially from Bruce Mitchell, formerly of the Pro Wrestling Torch, till they shit-canned his ass for being a douchebag and, insinuating that the family was hiding things, that Brodie really had COVID and they were just covering it up, and that he was potentially, or they, in covering it up, were potentially putting other people at risk. And Amanda very nicely had spoken about this on Twitter a couple times. She addressed it, tried to clear things up, but she wanted to take this time to really tell the full story of exactly what happened to Brodie. And here's a clip from this podcast.
Everybody has thought it was COVID since the jump. And even in the first few days we were at Mayo Clinic, they thought it was COVID. Mm-hmm. I have pictures of me in full PPE to be in his room because they thought it was COVID. So I had to have the N95, I had to have the hairnet, I had to have literally full PPE to be in his room.
Sure.
Every COVID test came back negative. To the point where I was like, can we just get a positive one? Just so we have a fucking answer.
Of what's going on.
Seriously.
Right.
Seriously.
I just want an answer. That's all I want. And they did a bronchial wash at one point, and the one doctor was telling me that at Mayo Clinic, they've had a couple of cases where people would test negative for COVID, and then they'd do a bronchial wash, and they'd find it residing deep in the lungs. So they were like, oh, that's what it's going to be.
Right.
Negative. Every fucking test was negative, and it was like, what is this? There's just not not 100% sure because I actually don't have the autopsy report yet, but I believe the official diagnosis was idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, which literally means that his lungs scarred up, and the idiopathic part means they don't fucking know why. They don't know what happened to his lungs, but they know his lungs were just completely scarred over. And the doctor came in and talked to me, and he basically was like, he needs a lung transplant or end-of-life care.
Man, it's hard to listen to, but I admire Amanda. She sounds like a very strong woman. She is able to still laugh, and she's still able to find a way to find some sort of enjoyment in life. It seems like she's doing okay. We don't know what happens behind closed doors, but she definitely seems like a very strong woman, and the whole story is just really sad and what the fuck happened, they still don't fully know, and that's disturbing because one day you could be smashing Cody Rhodes in the face with a big steel chain defending your championship on national TV, and the next day you are laying in a hospital bed with a tube in your neck, artificially pumping your blood for you because you can't breathe or get oxygen in. And the man had kids, and we spent a good amount of time around Christmas as wrestling fans kind of living in the sadness of this, so I don't want to get too deep into that. As a matter of fact, I'd actually delayed the release of this podcast, the debut of it, because the first week I was going to do it was the week that he died. The first week of the new year is when it was going to launch, and all anything was talking about was the death of Brodie Lee, and that's just, it's not a way you want to start a show, but, it's not something I want to spend a lot of time talking about, trying to bring everybody down and be sad. But I think everybody needs to take the time to listen to this podcast just to have a full understanding of what exactly happened to Brodie in the last days of his life, and to really be inspired by Amanda, because she's a strong woman, and you can tell and you can hear it when she speaks. And it's inspiring, because I don't know that I could, in her shoes, be that strong myself. So absolutely go out of your way to listen to Amanda Huber on the AEW Unrestricted podcast. Drops every Thursday, everywhere podcasts are found. Highly recommend.